At the end of a quiet street, there was a small perfume shop. It stood between an old bookstore and a flower shop. The shop was not famous. It did not have bright lights or big signs. But every time someone opened the door, a soft smell filled the air. There were roses. There was lavender. There was vanilla. And there was one special perfume that smelled like flowers after rain. Clara worked in the shop every day. She loved her job. She liked cleaning the little glass bottles. She liked writing small paper labels. She liked watching people smile when they found a perfume they loved. To Clara, every perfume told a story. One afternoon, a young man walked into the shop. His name was Ethan. He looked around for only a few seconds. Then he went to one shelf and picked up the same small brown bottle. He paid and left. The next month, he came back. He bought the same bottle again. Then he came back the month after that. Always the same bottle. Always the same quiet smile. After many months, Clara became curious. One day, she placed the bottle on the counter before Ethan reached the shelf. She smiled. "You always choose this one." Ethan looked at the bottle. Then he smiled. "It reminds me of someone." That was all he said. He paid and left. Clara looked at the bottle. Its name was Spring Garden. It was one of the oldest perfumes in the shop. Not many people bought it. It smelled like fresh grass, roses, and rain. After that day, Clara noticed Ethan more often. Sometimes he stood by the window before leaving. Sometimes he closed his eyes for a moment after smelling the perfume. It was as if he was visiting an old memory. Weeks passed. Then one rainy afternoon, everything changed. Ethan came into the shop with wet hair and a dark blue coat. When he reached for the perfume, Clara noticed something on his wrist. A small blue bracelet. It looked old. Some of the blue beads had lost their color. Clara stopped moving. She knew that bracelet. Long ago, when she was 10 years old, she had made it with her grandmother. She remembered sitting in the little garden behind the shop. Her grandmother grew roses and jasmine there. Every summer, Clara played in that garden with a boy from the next street. His name was Ethan. They picked flowers. They chased butterflies. They laughed every day. Before Ethan's family moved away, Clara made a blue bracelet for him. She tied it around his wrist. She told him to keep it forever. Then he left. Years passed. Clara grew up. Her grandmother became older. One day, her grandmother gave Clara the perfume shop. The little garden was still there. But the boy never came back. Until now. Clara looked at the bracelet again. Then she looked at Ethan's face. His smile felt familiar. His eyes felt familiar. She spoke very softly. "Ethan?" He looked at her. For a moment, he said nothing. Then his eyes became wide. "Clara?" Both of them laughed. They could not believe it. The little perfume shop suddenly felt full of old memories. After the shop closed that evening, they talked for a long time. Ethan told Clara about his life. His family had moved to another city. He finished school. He found a job. But he never forgot one summer. He never forgot the little girl who loved flowers. He never forgot the blue bracelet. Clara smiled. She showed him an old photo from the shop. In the picture, two children stood in the garden. One wore a blue bracelet. Ethan laughed when he saw it. Then Clara asked one question. Why do you always buy spring garden? Ethan looked at the little bottle. When I came back to this street many years later, I smelled this perfume. It smelled like your grandmother's garden. It smelled like our summer. So I bought one bottle. The next month, I bought another. I wanted to keep that memory. Clara held the perfume bottle in her hands. She had worked with that perfume for years. But she had never known it carried someone else's story. After that day, Ethan visited the shop more often. Sometimes he brought coffee. Sometimes he helped Clara clean the shelves. Sometimes they walked through the old street after work. They talked about books. They talked about flowers. They talked about childhood dreams. Being together felt easy. Like two old friends who had simply taken a very long break. One Saturday morning, Clara took Ethan behind the shop. The old garden was still there. But many flowers had disappeared. The grass had grown too high. Some rose bushes were dry. Ethan looked around quietly. This place is still beautiful, he said. Clara smiled. Let's make it beautiful again. So they began working together. They planted white daisies. They planted lavender. They planted new rose bushes. Every weekend, they spent time in the garden. Their hands became dirty with soil. Their shoes became wet after watering the flowers. But they were happy. Slowly, the garden came back to life. One evening, when the sun was going down, Ethan gave Clara a small glass bottle. It looked different from the others. There was no old label. There was only one new name. Spring again. Clara opened the bottle. She smiled at once. She smelled roses. She smelled jasmine. She smelled fresh rain. It felt like the old garden. But it also felt like today. Ethan had made the perfume using Clara's grandmother's old recipe. He wanted to keep the past. But he also wanted to celebrate their new beginning. Clara looked at the little bottle. Then she looked at Ethan. Some memories are beautiful because they stay in the past. But some memories become even more beautiful when they help us find each other again. The little perfume shop still stands at the end of the quiet street. People still stop to smell the flowers. People still buy tiny glass bottles. And on the front shelf, there is one perfume that makes many people smile. Its name is Spring Again. Because sometimes, love does not begin with a first meeting. Sometimes, it begins with a childhood memory. It waits quietly for many years. Then, one ordinary day, it finds its way home.